What's up, guys? We're back with another Bandai Tamashii Nation's Robot Spirits review, taking a look at the latest in Evangelion with the Evangelion Model 02, and this is the version that comes with the Type S components. So we've got it here in the standard style box for this particular version of Robot Spirits, so it's a little bit different than a number of figures that come out. You've got a full shot on the front with the Eva unit there kind of diving into battle. You've got product shots that run down both spines, and then the back of the box, in typical Tamashii Nations fashion, has a bunch of product shots showcasing all of the accessories, how it moves, but there's also a super tiny hexagon window that has the actual figure within. So there's not a lot as far as windows go on this box, but the presentation is really cool because there is a ton of fantastic photography on this. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull it out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Evangelion Unit 2 Robot Spirits figure. And this is something that I never really expected I'd be going deep into, but, you know, I just sort of got on an Evangelion kick, and we got the Dynaction, got the Unit 1 Robot Spirits, I've got the Unit 0 on the way currently, and of course Unit 2 is a natural progression in this line, especially since we're doing rebuild of Evangelion stuff, so there's a lot more coming, I would imagine. We already know that there are at least 2 more figures coming out, but this is one of the big 3 when we talk about this, so 0, 1, and 2. And I'm a big fan of this suit. I'm a big fan of this particular unit. I love the coloring on it. As much as I like the purple of Unit 1, I like the red of Unit 2 probably just as much, but in kind of like a different way. These figures are, of course, very similar, and I did cover Unit 1 not too long ago, but I did take a look at that one, and this one is kind of more the same. So if you're familiar with the current Evangelion Robot Spirits run, you're going to know what's going on here. But otherwise, let's take a look, see what it can do, see how it moves around. So we've got a head that can look really far up. The neck is independently articulated as well, so you can chicken neck that thing. I mean, it goes all the way out, and then as a result, it can look all the way down. You can get some really, really serious tilt on this thing too. And then you've got rotation as well. Unlike Unit 1, this one doesn't have a movable jaw because, you know, that's not really part of its character. Otherwise, they're the same. Arms go out at the shoulder. You do have a slight butterfly joint in there. They, of course, rotate all the way around. The pylons on the shoulders are on movable ball pegs, so the peg itself can move sort of side to side and up and down, and then the actual pylon itself will rotate inside that socket and hinge in and out, which is really cool. You do have a bicep swivel, basically at the top of the joint. You've got your double jointed elbows, they go back about that far, and they swivel. Well, it's actually more like a single, but it acts like a double in how far it moves, so there you go. And then you've got your ball hinges at the wrist, so in and out, in any direction, and then rotation. As far as torso articulation goes, I mean, it hunches all the way forward. It goes pretty far back, too. Not as far backwards as it is forward, but it's good enough. And then tilt side to side, you've got about that much wiggle room to play with. And then, of course, you've got rotation kind of at the torso. These like all these little plates here, basically. So there's a little bit of give here, but there's more give at this white one right here. That's really where a lot of your movement's going to come in. Legs go out about this far. That's kind of one of their sticking points, is the legs, because of the top of the thigh. So you can get them to go about that far. They kick forward, though, I mean, super, super far. And then they kick backwards as a result. Well, that. You do have a twist at the thigh. We've, of course, got double jointed knees, so all the way back. And then the ankles are on really, really nice hinges down here. So they hinge in and out, up and down, and then you can swivel around there as well. And then the armor plating on the top of the foot is also articulated slightly to kind of cover those gaps as you're moving it around. So if you're familiar with, if you're familiar with Robot Spirits in general, you kind of know what you're going to get going into this guy based on how they currently move. But this thing moves really nicely. I mean, I have no issues with it. It moves just as well, just as easily as Unit 1. You can get it into some really crazy positions. It balances nicely. It can do, oh, I should also mention, it does have the toe articulation, so it can do the squatting on the toes thing that I love to do with these guys, or gals, really, I suppose, if you want to get technical about it. But I think they move incredibly well, very nicely engineered, nicely articulated, and a lot of it's really hidden too. So in general, just top marks when it comes to moving this thing around. And as far as the aesthetics go, it's really more of the same. Like, there's not a lot that I would consider complaining about on this figure because, I mean, it kind of just looks like it jumped right out of the screen. Granted, I'm sure when we get the Dynaction later on, and I can't wait for that, I just have to say, I'm sure there's going to be little things that will be picked out that can be emphasized a little bit more. But really, this thing looks fantastic. There is a ton of molded plastic here, and I say that just as an informational thing. I don't say that as a negative. It's very much a Robot Spirits kind of thing for there to be kind of as little paint as possible. So places that can be easily kind of put together as different pieces of just molded plastic are kind of what they do. And I actually am pretty happy with it, because when it comes to any kind of, I mean, mech, for lack of a better term right now, it works fine just to keep those colors as clean and crisp as possible. So there isn't a ton of paint on this thing, and again, I'm not too upset about that. There is some, like on the chest, you've got some here on the tops of the shoulders and on the forearm blades and on the hands and a little bit on the head. Not as much on the head as you might expect. There's a lot of actual separation of parts there between the red and the white. But I think this thing looks fantastic. Again, like I said, I really dig the design of Unit 2. Just as much as I like Unit 1, I like Unit 2. Unit 0 is generally my favorite, honestly, and not just because on any given day, it can be orange. It's because I just like that design quite a bit. But I really, really like Unit 2. You've got the sort of gunmetal kind of gray spinal column back here. You do have the umbilical port back here as well for the cord. And it's just a nice, solid looking figure. Like, there's really not a lot to complain about. It very much looks like it jumped right out of the screen. The colors are bright and vibrant. Everything is proportionally well done. So it does have that really long, sleek and slender frame. The whites are really stark and very, very much factory fresh, which of course works really well for the production model Eva unit. And then you've even got some metallic green for the eyes up top, which do pop just a little bit against the orange crown and then the white and the red up there. But it's really just a fantastic design. It's I don't want to say it's simplistic, but there's just a lot of layers of molded plastic, but it really, really works, and it plays against the colors of the suit rather well. So layers of red, orange, white, and then of course you do have some black here and there, like on the pylons, on the arms, and then of course on the midsection of the torso, where you can actually see some of the mechanical guts, so to speak. Not necessarily on this figure, but that's kind of what is being implied here. So I really do like the way this thing looks. Looks fantastic alongside Unit 1, and it's a nice addition to the line. Again, very cool design, translates incredibly well into an action figure. Now, as far as accessories goes, Unit 2 is a little bit more beefy than Unit 1's recent release was, because this one comes with the inclusion of the S-type parts to give it, basically flight capabilities. So you've got swappable pylons and the forearm blades here, and these guys just pop in and out. You can just sort of pull them out and then put those in. So you've got these that have the sort of winged blades that stick out of the forearms. And then you take the pylons off. So these are the normal ones for comparison's sake. I mean, they're much, much, much different. So they're kind of like extended further front to back. They've got the thrusters at the top and on the back, and they move just the same. So they're still able to sort of swivel in and out of there, but there's a lot more to them in terms of design and color. I don't know that I'm ever going to display it like this, but I do like the idea that it's included. And of course, it's specific for this kind of rebuild version of Unit 2. So I'm happy that they're there. It saves them having to release an option parts set down the road just for something like that, because it's not a whole lot of stuff, but it really does kind of beef up the overall package to make it seem a little more substantial. You do get the umbilical cable, so you've got the plug here, and then you've got like the entry plug cable that pops into the back right there. It is a huge, huge bendy wire. So you can sort of swivel this all over. I find it to be a little impractical personally, just for display purposes, but if you're doing photography or anything like that, obviously it's a very scene specific kind of thing. So it's one of those instances where I may not use it personally, but I like the idea that it's there, because it's a very Evangelion kind of thing. It's one of their limitations when it comes to this thing being a mech. So it's pretty cool despite my lack of use, I suppose. And then we do have a handful of weapons as well. So we've got like the big shotgun here with the folding stock. And this thing's cool just because of its design. So I do really like this. Not a lot of paint on it really, if any. It's a couple of different pieces of molded plastic. So you've got this like double hinge on the backside, which is kind of cool just from a functionality standpoint. I really like that. And then we've got the little blaster with like the blade on the end here. So you've got this guy, you can fold it, and it holds it just fine in a number of hands, because this thing does include a bunch of hands. So you've got melee weapons, guns, and of course you've got the ever-present progressive knives, and the Unit 2 has 2 of them. Nice design on these. There's like a little bit of red paint on the inside on that slit in the blade, which I do think is really cool. The design on this knife is just nice too. The orange, the slight red accents, and some super metallic blades. And then as far as hands go, Unit 2 does have sort of just style pose, open palm, slightly relaxed hands on it in the box, and then you get 6 extra sets, and of course that means 12 extra hands. So we get a set of like just very relaxed hands. These have the index finger sticking out a little bit. These are your more traditional relaxed hands. You get a set of splayed finger hands. We get a set of flat palm, karate chop style hands. You get actual normal gripping hands with the trigger finger. You get a set of fists. And then we get a set of gripping hands where the fingers are like tucked in at the last knuckle. These are pretty reminiscent for when an Eva is ripping open an AT field. And while this one doesn't come with an AT field effect like that Unit 1 did, of course if you have that you can sort of swap it and have this one sort of ripping open an AT field as well. So it does have a lot of stuff. There is a lot in this box. Again, it is a little bit more substantial because it does include these extra pieces to give it a different look and feel. But even without it, I mean, you've got 4 weapons, you've got 14 hands in the box, and then on top of that you do get the S-type equipment and of course our ever-present umbilical cable. So yeah, this is a pretty solid figure. I mean, I've been very much into Evangelion over the past, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months or so, and it's really just been fun to go back and revisit it a lot more than I ever expected I would. It's certainly not anything unfamiliar to me, but I've really been into it lately for whatever reason. A lot of cool toys coming out will do that, and this thing is not an exception. It is very much an interesting piece. It looks fantastic. It moves really well. It has a ton of accessories, some that maybe aren't as useful as others for me personally, but I like the fact that it's all in this box. I like that you're getting a very complete Unit 2 set with this, and it's a fun figure to play around with. It's going to look really good with Unit 1, it's going to look good with Unit 0. Whatever you've got as far as Robot Spirits Evangelion stuff, this one's going to look really nice alongside it, and we're getting a more substantial one down the road pretty soon too, so I'm very much looking forward to more. So that's going to do it for this look at the Robot Spirits Evangelion Unit 2. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.